Hello, lads and ladies, and welcome back for another live stream on the channel. Today, we are back Sky Bet League 2 time. Now, frantic weekend of football across the fourth tier. We had 10 games, international weekend for some. Fleetwood had it off, Walsall had it off, Bromley had it off, and also Colchester United had it off. But we've still got 20 teams to discuss, and we've got no nil-nils, Jack, which is phenomenal, which we wanted to see. Last week, what did we have? 3 last week as well. So tonight,
Yeah.
10 games to discuss. We've got Wimbledon's batting of Carlisle United. We've got Cheltenham's defeat at home to Swindon. MattMS will be joining us to discuss all things Cheltenham Town and a potential takeover of the football club. Bradford's victory at Tranmere Rovers sent them back-to-back victories. Grimsby Town equalled their away tally of victories last year. Third victory away from home this year already. We've got Morecambe's first win of the season away at local rivals Barrow, and we've got Gillingham's third defeat on the bounce at home to Accrington. Stanley Matt from Gills in the Blood is here to discuss the start to the season and why it was so good, and maybe the drop-off since then as well. We've got the 4-goal thriller and late goal galore from Notts County in a 2-2 draw between Chesterfield and Notts County. Port Vale's impressive victory away at MK Dons. Doncaster's 1-1 draw to Crewe. They repeat that playoff semi-final last year as well. And also Harrogate's victory over Newport. Jack, how are we ahead of tonight's show?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well. What did you do with weekend? Anything nice?
Went around UCLan in Preston University. That's about it. You?
He supports the same team as me. He started standing in the same place as me. Starts wearing the same brands as me. Starts coming with me to away games. He's now going to the same uni as me, with the same lecturers, basically doing the same course as me. Lives the same distance away from uni as me, doing the same thing as me. Do you want just to be me, Jack? Do you want to just like should we swap lives and then there won't be too much change for you?
No, because I don't fancy having a YouTube channel. I'm quite happy being a keyboard warrior over on Twitter.
Yeah, it is. It is hard on days like this. Let me know if you can see and hear me okay. Get liking the stream as well. What a bloody draw. We got Reading away, which I'm actually quite happy about, to be fair. Now, I gave someone a clue. We beat them last year. Well, that narrowed it down quite a bit, didn't it? Hello, Sue. I hope you're well. I tell you what, Matt, you just come on and you'll be better than me guest at the start of the season. It was also a Cheltenham fan. Don't worry, I'm not having a dig at you yet. Absolutely, mate. It'd be great. Get into the DMs and we'll sort something, mate. Absolutely. Up the Vale, lots of Port Vale fans as well. Hello, Harrison. How are you, mate? Feel that Harrison needs to be in the middle here. So move that lead to. He needs to be in the middle, refereeing our slander match. It's about to happen. Now, I let Jack again pick the running order. I've slightly tweaked it for the guest running order because last week we went back to back on guests. This time we've tried to go, well, we'll get a game in, then we'll bring a guest on in around 10 minutes' time. And then we'll go for 3 games. We'll go for Tranmere, Salford, and Barrow's games. Come back to Matt, and then end with Chesterfield, MK, Doncaster, and Harrogate's games as well. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe down below. We'll start off with Jack. Wimbledon's 4-0 victory over Carlisle United. And it's the same old problems for Carlisle. And you look at it, 4 of the goals are conceded are really scrappy, aren't they? 3 are pretty much from set pieces, crosses into the box, headers on, and it's just so poor and so scrappy. And you look at it, Tilly got 2 assists. I thought the second ball in especially was a really good ball in. The first one is just a free header from Matty Stevens, who got a hat-trick in the game, 4 for the season. And he's actually scored 37 League 2 goals now in his last 90 games. And Wimbledon are a side that now, for the first time in their history, have won 6 straight home games in the league at home. 4 this season. They beat Walsall later on last season as well. And here's a little stat for you. So their last 8 victories at home, 3 of which have been against Mike Williamson. 2 as MK Dons manager, 1 last season, 1 this season, and then one against Carlisle. A combined score of AFC Wimbledon 7 Mike Williamson, 0. Great result for Wimbledon. One thing I found with this one was how good they were in scrappy moments, how good they were against Fleetwood. We mentioned it especially. They were so good in that area. When you've got players like Bugle, who was a right force the other day, Pigott as well, and you've got Matty Stevens scoring a hat-trick, who struggled to get into the team at the start of the year, they might do just fine this year.
Yeah, and Matty Stevens, we know he can get the figures in League Two. He obviously, I think, got 26 at Forest Green a couple of years ago, and he bagged 3 against Carlisle. And yeah, like you said, it was a bit of Carlisle struggle with balls in the box, and that's where Wimbledon succeed, really, getting the balls in wide areas. Hippolyte's a really tidy little player. He keeps the ball well, and it's not just the in possession stuff that Wimbledon do. It's the out of possession. I mean, they had a sort of that Wimbledon set up in a 5-3-2 with 3 midfielders of Alistair Smith, Callum Maycock, and Hippolyte. But then uh, they could switch out to a 5-2-3 with Hippolyte going out to the left, and then they man mark the wing back to wing back with Tilly going on to Davies of Carlisle, and then also Maycock marked the Biggins in the pivot. And then they just countered Carlisle's build-up shape, the 3-2 build-up shape, very well. And with Carlisle, obviously, they're trying to play this possession-based brand, but they've got a lot of players that, like Ben Barkley, Neil in the midfield, they don't move as well. So when Wimbledon can be that aggressive out of possession, then, it does cause a lot of problems for Carlisle. And I've been really impressed with Wimbledon so far this season. Like a lot of teams have. Callum Maycock, I've been really impressed with. Signed from Solihull Moors, sort of a box crashing midfielder. He likes to get in around the final third a lot. And James Tilley, I saw on Twitter that last season a lot of fans didn't really rate him, and he seemed like he's sort of a confidence player. Obviously, like you said, that he's got 2 great balls in. And Carlisle, obviously, like you said, 3 goals conceded of sort of set pieces, 64% possession and only 3 shots, no goals in the last 3. And fans saying that they'll go down, and it's not very encouraging when your fans think you're going to do back-to-back relegations. And hopefully that's not the case for them. And like I've said, that with the Williamson signing, going from Simpson's direct play to Williamson's possession base, it's a long-term project with ambitious owners.
I think the recruitment in January was one of which was quite poor in League One, with an eye on, you look at what Fleetwood and Cheltenham did, especially. Port Vale brought a manager in around February time that they knew had pedigree, maybe to keep them up, but if not, bring them back up, and then knew they could back in later in the window, sign better free agents, players that maybe needs to be let go from the current contracts, the likes of Jaden Stockley. They could bring the likes of Tollard, Ronan Curtis in. Cheltenham brought the likes of Matty Taylor into the football club as well. Fleetwood went down the route of, well, let's get these players off our budget, add to the budget next year. Fleetwood got rid of the likes of Josh Hill, Josh Fella, who we will come back to in about 20 seconds' time. Those types of players, big earners, Jack Marriott, Jaden Stockley left late in the window as well. Carlisle kind of signed, and I don't want them to be harsh here, losers. Players that have been losing a lot of games of football hadn't been playing. Armstrong had been flying. He didn't get his move later on in the summer window. He signed. And look, I think Armstrong's a good player in him. Don't get me wrong. Lewis, I think he's played 31 games and conceded 61 goals. And look, he's a good goalkeeper. He's a good shot stopper. He was good for Bradford. Bradford fans will laugh at him because they wanted to keep him. And I get that. But I looked at him and there's so many mistakes in him. And I know the defence in front of him haven't been good enough. I think the likes of Sam Lavelle, who, look, putting on pictures after he scored a goal in a 2-1 defeat 2 days after a game, is that right? I'm not sure. Then you look at Josh Vella, a captain of a football club that, let's be honest with you, was the captain of a sinking ship. Didn't want to be at a football club quite frankly, wanted to get out of it as soon as possible. He's gone to another club that was in a pretty bad situation with Fleetwood. Carlisle United and Fleetwood Town are very identical in the last 12 months in terms of both got new owners, both got relegated, both now in League Two, both have had new managers. So all of a sudden, then the high tune of the players they brought in. Vela again got booked the other day. He's nowhere near the standard where Carlisle United did. Absolutely not. And I believe that when they signed him, and I think Carlisle United fans were saying, in the last 57 league games, Jack, they've won 9. They've lost 38 of which. So every 3 games they played, they've lost 2. They've conceded 104 goals in 57 matches. And 107, in 57 matches. That's, you're looking at it just shy of 2 a game. 114 would be 2 a game. You look at the underlying stats, 5th in terms of possession, 13th in expected goals. They're the 5th lowest scorers, but they conceded 23 goals. And their weakness, in my eyes, is balls down the side, cross into the box. They are so vulnerable. The basics of football. And it's uncoachable. One last thing before I bring you in. Mike Williamson is a manager that has got this high pedigree for the style of football he's played at Gateshead. He did okay at MK Dons. When you got Max Dean knocking in 20, 25 goals a season, you're going to do okay, don't get me wrong. And it was a good team. I think that Mike Williamson is a 4-star Italian restaurant manager who's a really good Italian chef, and you are basically giving him a £1.50 ready meal from Aldi, saying, make that good overnight, make that into a 4-star delicacy overnight. It will take a long time. I think Mike Williamson is the right way to go, but he needs 15 new players. He needs a complete 6-week turnover, get rid of the players that don't want to be there, and get fitter, get stronger, and start playing some football, because these players are nowhere near his style. He's got to, you look at what Manning did at MK Dons, he didn't adapt, got sacked. He's got to adapt sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I don't want to, say that the Carlisle owners are poor, because obviously they're putting money into the club, but surely if you've got the mindset going into the season that you're going to part ways with Simpson if you don't have a good start, probably earlier than they actually expected, just 4 games in. And then obviously you're thinking of the replacement ahead. And if it's going to be a possession-based style, you've got to look at that recruitment and look at that squad and think, even if we do bring a possession-based manager in, the players aren't good enough. And in the style that Wilson wants to play in there, 3-4-2-1, you've got a lot of sort of demand on the centre half being comfortable on the ball. Have Sam Lavelle and Ben Barkley ever been in sides that have been comfortable on the ball? Not really. Sam Lavelle's known for his no-nonsense, rolling centre back, and I think you will get the best out of the wing backs. I think the wide play and also getting Jordan Jones back and starting Dom Sadie. Hopefully they will, they'll feed Charlie Wyke and Armstrong, and hopefully they'll get some goals. But yeah, like you said, it's just the basics at the other end of the pitch where they're really not nailing on. And, I saw someone say that they haven't conceded or made a mistake through the build-up that obviously Williamson wants them to do. It's sort of just, the players not even winning the duels, just not being aggressive enough. And part of that goes to the manager, part of that goes to the player at the end of the day, if you weigh all the problems up. And it's just a bit of a mess at Carlisle at the moment, which coming into the season, you wouldn't have really thought that this had happened.
No, absolutely not. Well done to Wimbledon and their impressive victory. Cheltenham 2, Swindon 3. Well, we'll bring Matt in very soon as well. We'll just have a quick say on it. Swindon have won two games now this season, in which they've scored 7 goals, Jack. They scored 5 in the other 9 games where they've only lost 4 games all season. Barrow and Gillingham have lost as many games as Swindon Town this year. That is a Mark Kennedy side that they're not quite good enough to win a game, but they won't lose games. Scott Brown-esque, do you believe that, we can scrape a 1-1 draw, and that's what Swindon want to be. But Swindon are a decent-sized club at this level. They should be wanting more. And, players like, Kilkenny in the team as well. Will Wright is a fantastic player at this level as well. And look at the level as well. Glatzel up front, Butterworth just in behind, and Butterworth nearly scored from 30 yards out the other day. Nearly lobbed the goalkeeper as well. Frecklinton at the back as well. Somervale has played at a division higher at Shrewsbury, and was actually played a trial game for Fleetwood Town. I don't know if you knew that as well, about 18 months ago. Fleetwood was short of a centre half. We could say we are now, Kershaw, just saying. We're short of a centre half, and Somervale over in Waterford played second half for Fleetwood Town. I can't remember what it was against an English club by memory. So it's a decent team. It's a good win for them. What do you make of Swindon's start to the season? Because there's been good glimpses, but there's been some really bad parts.
Yeah, and the owner came out and said the other day, who Swindon fans want out, said that, the amount of money he's pumped into the budget this season. And if you look at the squad, they have got some really, really good players. Gavin Kilkenny shouldn't be at this level. Will Wright shouldn't be at this level. Then you've got players also like Ollie Clark, who won promotion with Mansfield last season, and also you've got Harry Smith, who's a real, dual winner up front, and you've got a good squad there. And yeah, I think it is down to maybe Mark Kennedy. I don't think he's had at the level he's been at, he hasn't had, one of the best squads in the league. I'm not giving discredit to Lincoln, but at the time he was there, Lincoln didn't have one of the best squads in League One, and now he's dropped to Swindon in League Two. Then he's got one of the best squads in League Two in my eyes, anyway. At least top 7, top 8 standard, and it seems like he don't really know what to do with it. And I think if they lost against Cheltenham, he would have been on the verge of Swindon fans wanting him out.
Yeah, 100% agree there. Cheltenham, obviously, we won't go on for too long. Matt is about as late as Stan Butler is most of the times as well. Cheltenham, again, showed fight in that second half, but it's so easy to play when you're down in the dumps, isn't it? You're 3-0 down, and it's easy to do. You look to in League One, Charlton was 3-0 down against Bristol Rovers a couple of weeks ago, scored 2 late goals, and it flattened them a little bit. The goals actually came from similar positions, crossed into the box. And yeah, really poor from them. Cheltenham 2 wins out of 10, lost 7 now of those, drawn 1 away at Chesterfield. I don't know what to make of them this year because they are a young squad. Darryl Clark doesn't seem the answer for this young squad, from my point of view. If you're going to have a young squad, you need a young manager that's proud to put out young players and that connects with the fans. And it feels like what it needs is those young players need a break and needs a manager to look after them and needs an arm around the shoulder. And for me, Flynn's the type of guy that would really be if a young player made a mistake, he wouldn't be the greatest of arm around the shoulder type of guy. I can't comment, never been managed by him. I've always been 2 better than League Two, to be fair, and I haven't. What do you make of them? Because when we watched them, I thought they were very poor. And again, in this one, they didn't create anything.
Yeah, very poor, and it seems like sometimes they're trying to be a footballing side, but you've got some centre halves. You've got a back three who can only make 5-yard passes. When you go any yard over 5 yards, and you're buggered really, because he simply can't. Like Scott Bennett, Bradbury, and Stubbs, that you won't put them down to be comfortable on the ball. Really, I won't think. And I'm sure I'll ask Matt this soon. I don't know what their best 11 is. I think they've got a lot of players in the squad that, like you've got Young, you've got Cole, Pett, Archer, and Archer's played in midfield sometimes. I think that's his actual position. Should really put him out wide, but you've got 4 midfielders there. Do you start a 5-4-1 and just leave Bowman up top, or do you want Bowman sort of pressing with Miller? I think that partnership could do well, but I don't think Miller started again this season. Or if he has, he's only started 1, and maybe that energetic player alongside an experienced target man could work. But yeah, it don't look promising under Flynn, and I think Cheltenham fans, they've got a few people and a lot of people in mind to blame really for the poor start.
We'll bring him in then. He's nodding his head in appreciation. Matt, talk to me. What's it been like so far this season? How's it been from your perspective?
Where to start? I mean, first things first, it was a massive summer of change, of course. You know, completely new squad. I think we've only got 5 players left that we had last season. Maybe 6. And obviously new manager, new backroom staff, new everything. So we knew it was going to be a challenge. I, for one, wasn't confident going into this season at all. I think all of my worst fears have come true. The best football we've played all season is the first 20 minutes, half an hour against Newport when we went 2-0 up. We went into half-time at 2-2. I think that sums up the way the season's gone so far. Defensively, we're a shambles. There's so many directions that you could point the finger for what's going wrong at the moment, whether it's defensive mistakes, whether it's lack of quality in the recruitment we had over the summer, whether it's poor coaching. There's a lot going wrong, and I could talk for hours on it, to be honest, but there's a lot of questions being asked. We need to see answers.
In that squad, who do you think would be the nailed-on starters, and what do you think currently your best 11 sort of is?
You know what? I did a live stream on my YouTube yesterday, and I actually said I don't think we have a best 11. I think we have a best 4 or 5. And one of them is the goalkeeper. I genuinely, I mean, the injuries we've got. I mean, I'd say one of our players who's injured, Arkell Jude Boyd, came in from, he was Torquay last season. He's come in, he was brilliant. He's now got a long-term injury. So he would be a nailed-on starter, but we can't play him because he's one of about 4 long-term injuries we've got at the moment. There's a couple others. I mean, Pet is still Mr. Reliable, really. Ethan Archer, who, a year, 2 years ago was practically at Sunday League level. He's been fantastic so far, but, it says a lot when he's the diamond in the rough in a League 2 side that has a lot of experience in, the likes of Scott Bennett, the likes of Tom Pett, etc. You've got experienced heads in that team and you wouldn't know it. Yes, with the likes of Scott Bennett, the legs are slowing down. I get that, but it almost seems like the football's not even in his head anymore. The game seems to have left a lot of players. What'd you say?
Leave the football before the football leaves you.
Exactly. I was trying not to say it, but I was like, someone's going to mention it, isn't they?
Mate, he was awful. Against Fleetwood, he was your worst. I was like, because you had to make a tactical, that's one thing, you had to make a tactical switch in that. He kind of went further up the pitch. I don't know if you noticed it. There was a bit of a switch about 40 minutes into the game where Fleetwood were bullying that side of the pitch.
Wow, we get bullied all over the pitch at the moment, to be honest, mate. So, I don't know. No, but yeah, he's miles off it. And if I'm honest, like those 2 or 3 players that I mentioned that have been nailed on so far, I mean, you can make claims for Tom Bradbury as well. He's probably our only fairly reliable centre-back at the moment, and even he's got a mistake in him. Attacking-wise, I don't see a lot. I don't see a lot of consistency. I don't see a lot of solidity in the aspect of being a reliable front man. And scoring the goals we need to score, because unfortunately we're conceding too many. Going 3-0 down to Swindon when they've had a tough start on home patch against Swindon. They've never beaten us at One Road before Saturday. It's shocking. It's shocking, mate.
If you've got any questions for Matt, by the way, as comments as well, get them in as well. I will ask you one more on Cheltenham, and I want to bring you in about a bit on League 2 as well. Where do you see yourselves in end of April? Because I looked at the 4 clubs that went down and I said Port Vale probably will be in the best place in a few months' time because they've got the backing and they've got, although they're not massively bigger than a Cheltenham in terms of gates, they just have that feel-good factor where they have an aura around them. And what I say is about it's like there's 4,500 fans there on a bad day, whereas on Cheltenham there's 4,500 on a good day. Where are they regularly enough? And that's not a dig at Cheltenham. It's the same for Fleet, but we've probably got 2.5, 3 on a good day. And then I looked at Carlisle will probably be in the bracket with Port Vale. I looked at us in the same bracket. I thought Fleet were actually the worst team to come down last year. We'll be in the worst situation for the size. Where do you see where are you 4 months on? Where were you in May when you went down on that last day of the season? Stevenage, I think it was, to now. Because you ended last season really well. You got some really good wins towards that end of that last year.
Yeah, I mean, I will always give ourselves credit for taking it to the final day. We had absolutely zero right to, and we did have a good second half of the season after a terrible start. Since then, like I mentioned before, it's just all the change. There was far too much change, and not enough of it was positive. It was a massive, a shock to the system, but also a reality check for a lot of Cheltenham fans, I think, because a lot of people forgot how it was before Michael Duff came in and got us promoted. You know, we're back to where we were, 6 or 7 years ago now. We are scrapping down at the bottom, and you say looking towards potentially the future. I mean, I don't see how it's getting better at the moment. The issue I've got is on Saturday we had a few people calling for Flynn's head. Unfortunately, there's a reason that the club's up for sale, because we don't have the money to invest at the moment. We can't move forward as a club right now. If we sack Flynn, it could only get worse. Can we afford to sack Flynn? Can we afford to bring in a new manager? All this other stuff. So there's a lot of risks that would need to be taken to improve this right now, because unfortunately, we're 11 games in now, and I don't think Flynn has provided the fans with anything to grow with confidence going forward. That's just my opinion. I mean, anything can change, and we could go to Colchester next week and get a massive 3 points. You never know. That's football. But watching week in, week out, it's hard to see anything happening at the moment, mate.
Where were you at the Fleetwood game if you watch week in, week out, then?
Oh, well, I was I follow loyal that day, mate.
Was you?
And, you know what? I was very glad of it, if I'm honest, after watching that game.
I had to get Josh on my vlog. You're slipping.
Mate, he's massive these days. Cut him some slack.
Go on, the boy. Go on, he's fantastic, isn't he? Jack, anything else before we kind of bring Matt in on League Two a little bit?
Well, obviously, you said that people want Flynn's head. You do know who's going to be your manager if Flynn goes. Streaky Lee.
Don't, please. Just. I don't even want to hear that name. Don't even want to hear that name. No, to be fair, I already know what'll happen. We brought in Aaron Downs as the assistant coach before we even announced Michael Flynn, and I just know that he will come in as an interim. There's a couple of potential names floating around that have previously coached at our place. Adam Murray, I would take him, but he's at Eastbourne Barrow, so it's still a bit of a step up. But give it a year, and it might not be that much of a step up the way we're going. So you never know. But just not him, please. Just anyone other than him.
Matt, if we had to, ask you on League Two, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. What is your genuinely, first initial thoughts on League Two? Because it's a really, really competitive league. It could be anyone's. And after the weekend as well, you look at Barrow and Gillingham, we're in the top 3, lost to the bottom 2, both at home. It's wide open, isn't it?
Oh, it's massively open, especially at the top of the league. You've got 5 points separating 1st and 11th. It's absolutely mental. And in those teams, you've got Wimbledon, who have played 3 less than everyone else. You've got yourselves, who have played 2 less than everyone else. So it's a crazy league. There's, teams that are looking towards the top of the league that I thought, before the season started, they would be there. They've impressed me. Doncaster, I mean, they were nailed on to be up there for me. Although, the occasional game I have thought, maybe they're dropping off a bit, but then, next game, Grant McCann pulls it back out of the bag and they start playing unbelievable again. Port Vale have been brilliant. I've been really impressed by Walsall, actually. They just can't stop scoring. They can't stop scoring. They didn't, when we played them away, to say that we played terribly, they didn't exactly look like they had much end product. And then the next week they go and smash 4 past the team, just like it's nothing. So, it's massively impressive. And there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing at the top of the table, and you look down to the bottom as well. I mean, no team's out of it. A few weeks ago we were saying, we're 5-6 points clear. We just need to steady the ship now. It's been a tough start to the season. Steady the ship and hopefully kick on. And Flynn starts growing in confidence. We start playing better. We're now only 3 points clear of the drop. Morecambe have come out of nowhere picking up points. I don't think I saw that coming, but they finally started kicking on a bit. Accrington, Stanley. I mean, again, really slow start. Both of them have had really slow starts, but at least they're starting to look a little bit better than they were a couple of weeks ago. I think Carlisle and us are in desperate trouble. I really do.
Do you think you stay up? Genuine? Do you think? Because I asked John Palmer, and John Palmer went, it'll be very difficult. That has got to be the ultimate aim. And I thought he'd be anywhere between 16th and 19th this year.
I said after the Fleetwood game, or no, was it before the Fleetwood game? I was on holiday with my dad, and I said to him, if we stay up, it'll be because there is two teams that are drastically worse than us somehow.
Yeah.
At the moment, over the pattern of the last 2-3 weeks, are there two teams worse than us? There's maybe one, if that.
Who's that?
Carlisle.
Okay.
Carlisle. I think for maybe it's because of the amount of expectation I had for them going into this season. I must admit I didn't think they'd be doing anywhere near as badly as they've started. They could have done better over summer, but still, I think they're well and truly below where they should be. But yeah, I see us staying up. It's a tough question, Nappers. We've got a January to come. We've got we've got 2/3 of the season to come. But it's I'm nervous. I'll say that I'm nervous.
You got any final questions, Jack?
Who do you see winning the league? Do you see Port Vale running away with it, sort of, or do you see Notts County?
Give us a top three.
Getting a bit consistently.
Well, you say top three. I actually think the top three will be as it is now. I don't know the order. I'm not honestly. I think any of those three could nick it. It will go right down to the wire, but I can't see much chopping and changing, despite the fact that I just said, the top 11 is so close. I really don't see that top three changing. I think them three, despite the fact that the table doesn't show it, I just think from what I've seen from them on the games that I have watched, they're just like a cut above.
Matt, phenomenal. Thank you for coming on. Go and subscribe to him. MattMS, we will be having you on later on in the season. Hopefully, I tell you what happened this week. We had a Crewe fan and they went on to get a good point away at Doncaster. We had a Morecambe fan who hadn't won a game all season. They had one. So hopefully this channel can be a positivity of giving out 3 points. However, Cheltenham seem to be that charity that give out 3 points.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Cheltenham will see, mate.
Come on this channel this year that don't win. After.
I'll be all over your Twitter tags if we get battered on Saturday. That's all I'm saying.
You're gonna get beat 4-0 written all over it. Matt, thanks so much for joining us and appreciate your time, bud.
Thanks for having me, mate. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
Top man. Oh, I don't like that. Woo! There we are. Hope we're all good. Whoa, there we are. We're not going to play around with that again. Jesus Christ. There we are. Talk to me. Tranmere 0, Bradford City 2. Great result for the Bantams at the weekend. Picking up back-to-back victories now, scoring 5. Great result on the road. Andy Cook has now scored 52 in his last 100 Bradford City games.
Yeah, Andy Cook's phenomenal, and just give him service in his stride. And sometimes it's
I can't get this working. Something's changed. Keep
don't
talking.
get too close.
There we are.
Anyway, yeah. So sometimes things like Bradford do rely on Cook, but because he's that much of a good goal scorer, is it a bad thing, to be honest? Because when he's given the service, you can get easily 20, 25 goals out of him. I mean, to be honest, Tranmere didn't look good, and obviously I banged on about this. Tranmere aren't a good side, and out possession they went for a 5-4-1, but instead of having the sort of 2 10s or anything going as out wide, they had a double pivot and then just 2 10s in front of him. But and then I think it was Atkins said in his interview after the match that Bradford split their 2 10s out wide, and then they suffered a lot, and it was just a bit bizarre because obviously that Jamie Walker and especially Adele for Bradford, that they're definitely going to peel off wide and they're going to split, and they're just trying to be very creative, and Bradford hurt him. And Tranmere, they've got a 32, 31, 34-year-old strikers, and average age of 28.5. Is there any like spark in that team? I don't think so. I mean, Jennings slipped and looks like a one-legged man doing the okey cokey, and then Bradford go 2 up. So it's not looking good for Tranmere. And, I don't want to keep trying to, big myself up saying I knew that they wouldn't have as good as a season people made out to be, but they've got an experienced side, which for me hasn't got flair in it. And last season they relied on that flair with Rob Apter. And, I banged the drum about this. They didn't replace him and they look really poor.
They do look really poor. And I actually did some stats on this, Jack, about Tranmere, and I wanted to look in the first 5 games of the season to the last 5. Now, the first 5, they drew the first 2, won the next 2, and then lost. And then in the last 5, they've been really, really poor, but they've still got 3 draws in there. So in the first 5 games, their expected goals are 2.93. However, in the last 5 games, it's gone up by 0.97 over the 5 games. So you pretty much 0.2 extra per game. The expected goals conceded has also come down with that. So they've gone up in terms of attacking, but come down in terms of the expected goals conceded by, again, 0.85, 6.61 to 5.49. Shots on target, the first 5, they had 18, they've had 20. So they've had more shots on target. They've been better in game. I think they had 6 or 7 away at Colchester being one in that time. However, the shots on target face, in those first 5, they only conceded 13. In the last 5, conceded 20. So they have been peppered a lot more in terms of shots, but they've taken 5 less points. One thing I will say on Atkins very quickly, because we will move it on, his football is a style that you need to win playing that style and having those metrics every week, in my eyes, because they weren't getting away with it, but they were just slowly creeping towards a style that wasn't great. You've got to win. And look, they drew 0-0 away, home to Notts County, away at Port Vale and beat Walsall. That's really good. Went away at Carlisle 1-2-1. And then you think, Atkins, great manager, the spirit building. Since then, because they've not been winning games of football, he gets questioned. And he's funny interviews where, I think, did he go, we played a 1-4-2-3-1. I think you actually labeled this. Or back then, he's, what a guy. If you said that now, you're going, what are you saying that for? And they have got no spark in the team. You've got no play in that team. Amari Patrick can produce a moment of brilliance maybe 6-7 times a season. You need that player that's going to do it week in, week out. And I just don't think they got that core. They were poor first half. So were Bradford, I thought, although they had a goal advantage. He made 3 subs at half-time. So work to be done for Tranmere. Bradford City have actually now won 4 of the last 5 visits against Tranmere, scoring 2 in each of those games as well. Tranmere again struggling, but they will. I do think they'll stay up in this division. I think they will get better as the season goes on. We will move on quickly to Salford 1, Grimsby 2. Cole Stockton got his first Salford goal for him. Big goal for him. I feel like that can kick him on. He went on a bit of a drought at Morecambe and scored 3 on the bounce. If you remember that late part of it, I think he scored against Lincoln, a couple away at Charlton, and unfortunately couldn't keep them up in the end as well. Grimsby only won 3 away games last year. Jack. They've won 3 away already this year, and they beat Salford both seasons as well. They've now won 6 of 11 games. They've lost the other 5, 18 points. Barrington with a brace on loan. He looked really impressive, but Grimsby's first goal was really good. The high press from minute 1 and the nice ball inside underneath Jamie Jones. It's a great start for Grimsby. They'd have taken 18 points from 11, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. And you spoke then about the first goal, Cam Gardner winning the ball back, and he's sort of like a bit of a stocky figure, and he looked a bit like, Kieran Green, just playing behind the striker and then just being a proper nuisance. And I like Barrington because he's willing, to go the extra yard, to go behind the opposition backline and sort of play off the strikers, which some wingers aren't that willing to do, and some, he's only 19 and they don't have the confidence to exploit the space, and they don't have the intelligence to do that. But he's a really good player, and Grimsby have a few players like that. Van Thorson on the right hand side is very good. I like him. Kieran Green, he's really intelligent. and a nuisance to play against, really, especially if you're a opposition six, because you don't know how to get near him, really. And then Vernon on the left, I like too. Unfortunately, he's injured, and they have had a few injuries so far this season in Grimsby. So, they have done relatively well. And I think there's a lot to like about this David Artell side. It's his first full season in charge, switching between two shapes, a 5-3-2 and a 4-1-4-1. I think Danny Rose has been a vital part in that. He's just been, I think, more dropping deep and linking with the play, which I like about Danny Rose. He's normally a clever mover around the 6-yard box. But to have that sort of game where he's getting in more the creative side and just dropping deep and linking in play and being unselfish, that I really like about that. And Grimsby so far have looked good, I think. They're one of sides that I think, in comparison to last season, they're going to improve a lot. And we've seen signs so far that they are.
This league is very open, and we're seeing teams winning games of football and then all of a sudden not being able to back up. Keep your comments coming, flooding in as well, and keep liking the show as well. We are going to go on to a side now that started the season on fire, and they looked, going back to Tranmere a little bit. Now, the metrics weren't always brilliant in terms of an attacking stage. However, key attacking players missing at that early part of the season. You mentioned Nevitt. You're missing Bradley Dack at that start of the season as well, plus others as well. So it took a while for Gillingham to get the full bodies, flowing. Really good display on the opening day against Carlisle. It could have been more than the 4 goals that they got. And they'd only scored, I think, something like 46 and 36 in the last 2 seasons before this. So goals have been a problem since being in League Two. But goals conceded was good. It was pretty standard as well. However, winning 6 of your first, you look at it, 8 games is always going to be a great start. Only losing that 1 away game. Gills were really impressive in my eyes in the victories that they got, especially the one away at Morecambe, where they found a way to scrap. And at League Two, you need to scrap. We are going to bring in the very talented Matt from Gills in the Blood, who will give us his thoughts. I spoke to Matt, 6 weeks ago, and a lot has changed, I think, at both football clubs. As it is, we're going to bring him in now. Matt, how are we? I hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining us. I am very sorry for bringing you on now rather than a couple of weeks ago. It could have been a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to bring you in now. How are we after the weekend?
Yeah, frustrated, of course. It's disappointing to lose at home, having been so good on our own patch since Boxing Day last year. To then lose back-to-back games, having been 15 unbeaten, is annoying. But the Grimsby defeat 10 days ago was one of them. They done a job on us, no problem with that. We had a real goal. We did what they did to us, what we did to Notts County a few weeks ago, or similar to what we did at Morecambe. The last 2 have been more concerning. Crewe just didn't offer anything for 90 minutes, made it very easy for them. And then, imploded from 1-0 up in the final half hour against Accrington Stanley at the weekend. And I think the biggest telltale sign for me was if you'd walked into the ground up from an hour onwards, you wouldn't have known who was the side in second at kickoff and who was the side in 23rd.
Yeah, very interesting. I'll ask something before I bring Jack in. What do you think's changed in those 8 games? Do you think that, because you look at Tranmere, and I think you're a miles better version of Tranmere, do you think maybe that certain little things you may be getting away with early on in the season, maybe like Morecambe having a couple of good chances, maybe that would strike a bar or hit a post in your favour, maybe just slightly going against you at the moment? You will get these moments in the season that, look, one of the goals takes a big deflection and goes into your goal. That might not happen when you were at the top of the table, because they always say when you're at the top of the table, you do get those looks. But as soon as you start losing, you can't buy any bit of luck, can you?
No, yeah. I mean, it's all swings and roundabouts. And we know the old adage, it'll even itself out over the season. I'm sure it will do. And we'll get back at it sooner rather than later, fingers crossed. But we've just become the polar opposite of what we was good at the start of the season. I mean, if we go back to the game at your place, we all watched the game that day. We were probably second best for 70% of that game, but we found a way to stay in the game. We was hard to create a clear-cut chance against. But you make a point there, Ben, about bits of luck. Obviously, there's an offside goal that gets ruled out. Correctly or incorrectly, it gets ruled out. We're now having anything that can go wrong is going wrong at the moment. Like keeper got injured at the weekend, keeper scuffs a pass for the equaliser. It has completely flipped on its head. But bottom line is, you can't use that as an excuse. We've just not been good enough over the last 3 games, either for entireties of 90 minutes or in key spells, which has ultimately cost us. Accrington must have thought it was Christmas when they was earning a point at the weekend. But then fair play to them. They saw that we were struggling. We couldn't control the football. We couldn't control how the game was being played. And they took a chance and they scored a really good winner from their point of view in terms of the touch and finish from the lad. I forgot his name now. Dara Costello, on loan from Burnley. But from our point of view, it's a horrific goal to concede. We don't challenge for the free kick. It's a free header. We then let them just run through the middle of us. And that's what's happened in the last 3 games. Teams have just run through us too easily, and it's got to change quickly. Because we go Bradford Saturday and they're absolutely flying. And if we play like we did against Crewe, or we play like we did last half hour against Accrington, we'll get turned over again.
How come you think that you're not creating enough? Because obviously you've got the threats of Nevitt, you've got Nolan Clark. Even though Clark last season wasn't really the nail-on starter, and surprised that he started as much so far this season. Then you've got Hutton on the right, because normally Bonner's sides create a lot of chances, and like you've got sort of the type Elliot Nevitt up top, and I think he's sort of like the same presser and same like sort of striker as what Paul Mullen is. Like, he's really energetic, and Paul Mullen got 32 goals under Bonner. So I was wondering how why there isn't enough being created, do you think, with the sort of the front threats that you've got?
It's a good question. If I could answer that, I'd tell Mark Bonner and get him to fix it straight away. It's a mystery, because 2 of them names you mentioned, like Elliot Nevitt coming 18 goal contributions for Crewe last season, 16 goals in the league, and Jack Nolan 25 goal contributions in the league. It's I'm not saying they've been awful. Elliot missed all the pre-season, so there's a caveat there. He's still probably getting up to speed. He's probably still doing his pre-season now, but in League 2 games, which is always difficult, and we've got a few like that. Jack Nolan's a bit of an enigma at the moment. I mean, at home he's got, I think it's a goal and 2 assists, but away from home he's been fairly anonymous in every single fixture, which is not what you want when you look how good he was last season. Is it something that Jack's struggling with? Maybe a smaller fish in a bigger pond, where he was the big fish in a smaller pond last season? I can't answer that. If I could, it'd make things a lot easier for everyone. But they're good players. They're going to be out of form at some point during the season. That happens. That's why they're League 2. But at the moment, we've just got too many that are sort of under the levels that we need all at the same time. And that's what's cost us. And that's why it's ultimately no points from 9.
Well, I did ask you at the start of the season, the aim was to try and get into the playoffs, any improvement on last year. And I think there has been an improvement. Is there alarm bells ringing because you started well last year and it was in the same type of fashion where you'd won all the games? Was it 1-0 at the start of the last year with all the 4 games? And it was like, well, good defensively, nicking a goal, having some sort of attacking output, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't like you're thinking we're going to go and score 4 or 5 here, we're going to blow teams away, this is sustainable, we're the best team in the league. And then slowly but surely you lost a couple of games after that. Is it maybe a bit of a worry around the club, thinking not again, we've started well and maybe 3 defeats on the bounce, rather than if you hadn't had that last year, this might have not crept in?
Potentially, because ironically, if you look at our record after 11 games, it's identical to last season. It's 6 wins, 1 draw and 4 defeats, 19 points. We're 3 places higher now. And obviously the goal difference is positive. It was -2 at this stage last season. So obviously there's murmurings, and I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen. But of course, we sacked Neil Harris with that record last season. We're not going to sack Mark Bonner. But yeah, I think that is when you get beaten with the same stick over and over again, it does become a concern. And obviously, we know for the last 2 or 3 seasons in League 1 and then League 2, we've been very low scorers, if not the lowest scorers. We don't want that to happen again. And then you couple that with the fact that defensive resilience that we've had, even when we were really poor 2 seasons ago, that's just dropped off as well. It doesn't make for a good combination, which is, again, goes back to why we've gone from losing 1 out of 8 and conceding, I think, twice in 8 games to conceding 5 in 3 games.
Yeah.
Do you know you've been obviously you've lost the last three, Crewe, Accrington, Grimsby. I noticed that there's been a considerably lower average age for them three teams in comparison to Gillingham, and then Chesterfield, Morecambe, like Tranmere and Barrow that you beat at a similar average age. So do you think the games that you've lost, you've been a bit overrun by sort of the younger squads that have a bit more in them, rather than obviously the teams that have a similar age range between them? Do you think that is a case of that, you know, the younger and maybe more fitter squads are just having a bit of an advantage over you?
No, I don't think that's a factor personally. I just think it's too
No.
many individual errors. That's
Mm.
the crux of it. Grimsby, we had loads of ball. We were still going right to the end, creating chances, but couldn't put it in the back of the net. So it wasn't a fitness or an age-related thing there. Crewe, we were just rubbish. Like, forget whether anyone was 37, 27, 17 or 87. We just weren't at it. Both goals were appalling. We gave the ball away on the halfway line for the first one, and then we didn't challenge for a header in for the second one. So no, I don't think average age or anything comes into it. I just think the form's dropped off, and we've had too many that have been below par all at the same time, unfortunately. Let's hope they all come out of this trough at the same time and we get back to doing what we was doing correctly for the first 8 games of the season.
Just finally, before I do let you go, what have you made of League Two so far? You've been here obviously 3 years now, and you've been here obviously before this as well. From my point of view, it's a very open league, very frustrating league at times, where you're seeing some good football inside, you're seeing some sides that just bully you, that are good at what they do. I watched Bromley the other day, and they were very effective at what they did, and you could see there was a unity to them. And I think it's a league where you've got 24 completely different sides trying to do different things as well to get where they want to get to. What have you made of it, and what teams maybe have you been impressed by so far?
I think, yeah, just to sort of follow on from what you've said, and Jack said it when we spoke, it's a ridiculously open division this year. Like, I think there's 75% of the teams in this league think they can probably get in the top 7. There's probably 50% of the teams think they can be in the top 3. So there's going to be a lot of people that are disappointed come May. In terms of teams that have impressed me, Port Vale, I had up there top 3. I think in my predictions, they've sorted themselves out after a slow start. I think their recruitment was too good for them to not be a force at the level. Like George Byers is a stupid signing for League Two. It's probably like Bradley Dack from us, but Bradley Dack's not fit still, unfortunately. And whereas you're getting George Byers on the pitch, so for them to be good signings, they have to be playing football matches and influencing football matches. In terms of, I don't know, I'm just trying to have a quick look at the table. Surprise packages. There's probably been a couple. I suppose you'd have to say someone like Newport have been all right, I think, considering what everybody thought of them at the start of the season, because we know the lad from Portugal came in to take charge and people thought that's not maybe going to work. But yeah, there's so many. Like, our game Saturday was League Two in a nutshell, wasn't it? 23rd, worst defensive record in the league, come into a side that's lost once at home in 9 months, turn us over 2-1, and that will continue happening all season long, I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Go and subscribe to Matt, Gills in the Buzz. Some fantastic content over there. Recently uploaded a video, I think today, didn't you, as well? So go and check that out. And Matt, thanks so much for joining us. And hopefully next time we speak, you've won a couple of games and we're coming off the back.
Yeah, get me on once we're playing well again. That'd be great.
Yeah. Hopefully we won't see you after our game then, if that's the case. Yeah, we don't want that. We'll bring you on after you've lost that, hopefully.
Cheers, gents. Thank you. See you later.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Yeah, absolutely. Accrington Stanley then. Jack, brilliant. Well, we're doing that again. I hate this. This is awful. This is awful. Where are we at? I'm like a granddad. I cannot use a laptop. I will get this
technology.
I'm like, you could just come and have a look at. Full credit to Accrington Stanley, recorded back-to-back wins in the EFL. Good win for them. Again, they get one win, they pick up another as well. Late goal, 2-1 wins in either game. I think what's so sweet is a late goal that's won it for them. And how many times this season, Jack, have we spoke about Accrington Stanley have lost games in the last minute or late on, and finally in the 94th minute, 500-mile long round trip. They've won a game of football. Brilliant for them. Also brilliant for Morecambe. He went to Barrow and won 1-0. Talk me through it.
It was coming. And like I said about the guests that we've had, Dave, I asked him, when do you think the next win's coming? And he said against Barrow. So, it proves that we're getting very, very knowledgeable guests on. And
where did I go wrong with you?
I'm very knowledgeable.
If that what makes you sleep at night, you tell yourself that, boy.
Everyone loves me in the comments. I'm sure they'll tell me that.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, for Morecambe, obviously we said that quality is not really going to getting through matches, and watching the highlights, it seemed like Barrow were on top, but then Ben Tolick seems to be coming in his stride now. He's got 2 in 2. He didn't really make it at EFL level. He's 29. He dropped down to National League, and then he's come back up and seems like he wants to prove a few people wrong. And talk about proving a few people wrong. Dackers, Salford fans didn't like him. He's just a really hard-working player who just gets his body around. He uses height and frame well, and he won 15 Gills again on Saturday. He's been winning Gills for fun, especially in the air. And in the second half, he torn Fleetwood's left-hand side a new one, really, when he came on, and saw that right channel. And there's a real togetherness with Morecambe. We keep saying that, and they got a few 1-1 draws against decent oppositions, Bradford, Notts County, and teams like that. And then I thought they were going to beat Accrington, to be honest, and it must be refreshing for Adams to get that first win over the line. And they posted a picture at full time. They were all with the fans and stuff, and it's important in a time like that. You've got an ex-manager who knows the club well. He knows that he's been handed with a pretty poor squad, probably the worst in the league, and the first thing is getting that togetherness right with the fans and the players. In the interviews, he's always been honest. Like Dave said, that the one thing you can't knock him for is his honesty. He'll always tell you how it is, and bringing him back to the football club will give Morecambe fans a lot of hope.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. Great result. Ben Tolick getting another goal for him at 7 points in the last 6. Again, drawing games of football, winning games, drawn 4, lost 1, won 1. If they continue to do that, they'll be absolutely just fine. They are outside, well, just inside of the relegation. And they thought they got out until Accrington Stanley's late winner. However, the season's not decided after 11 games. Morecambe are in games, and every single game that they have lost this season have been by 1 goal. They are in games, just again switching off at key moments. I sound like Stephen Presley. Key moments in the game. Chesterfield 2, Notts County 2. A great advert this for League 2 football. 2 sizable football clubs at the level as well. Paddy Madden got off to a good start. 6-minute goal for him. Paddy Madden and Will Grigg scoring for Chesterfield. That is just so 2017 EFL, that, isn't it? It is like so vintage EFL. And 2 typical Paddy Madden and Will Grigg goals. Paddy Madden kind of gets his foot in the way, takes it round and pokes it home, and Will Grigg's a header at the back post. However, Jatta also getting a headed goal as well into the far corner, and David McGoldrick scoring a rebound from a penalty. 10,000 to watch this one. Again, a good attendance and a really, really, really good game. However, my issue with Chesterfield, what's that now? 5 draws at home. In 4 of them, Jack, they've been winning the game. They've been winning the game. And he's again switching off at key moments. The Salford game, they were 1-0 up. The Cheltenham game, they were up in the game as well. The Swindon game on the opening day, this one now as well. And there's more you can go on as well. And it's disappointing. I think it's harsh, a penalty. Can see why it's given. I can see why it may not be given, because yes, he does strike an arm. It does stop going to the player, but he was going to Trezola in the box, but it's stopping the chance, isn't it? And referees have to make a tough decision. However, Chesterfield's season should be, look, they sat 12th on 15 points. If they'd have won that game of football, we'd have been sat in 9th and they'd be a point outside. Even if they just turn 2 of those draws into wins, they're going to be sat 3rd in the table, Jack, above Notts County, who are there. And They've drawn 6. They've only lost 2 in 11, which is a really, really good start. They have got a good team. They are without Che Dunkley. I've been really impressed. For Notts County, they're digging in when they're not quite at the best. And even though Notts County haven't been at the best recently, they've only lost 2 in 11, and they've scored 19 goals still, which is a really, really good start for both sides. Really good game, this.
Yeah, and I think one you could probably put a price that it'd be a draw with loads of goals in it. And obviously, like I said about Madden and Grigg, it's all right when Chesterfield can have 2 top strikers at this level to rotate between. And same with Notts, to be honest. I've been impressed with Jata. He got a great leap, and that's McGoldrick's 4th goal of the season, while basically just swanning in and out the starting 11. So, it's not bad from Notts County's point of view either to have 2 good centre forwards. And I like Notts County's first goal where they went to a 4-1-2-3 and build up, and having Matt Palmer back, I think, was crucial because he can slot into the back 4, and then Macari and Barrow can both fly forward, as we see that Barrow and Macari, they're very progressive. And then obviously Chesterfield were in sort of 4-2-4 mid block, and the front 2, Mark Andy and Madden, were close, but then there was distances between the wingers and the front 2, and then Notts County exploited that with Matty Palmer just driving forward, and then there was rotation of Abbott and Crowley. And I think with Matty Palmer coming back, it also lets Crowley get into that half space and affect the game in the final third when Notts go from the defensive third to attacking third really quickly. So Crowley's not at the other end of the pitch where he can't affect the game where he wants to be. And also they capitalised on sort of that the 2 10s of Notts County, Austin and Crowley, went either side of the double pivot, so it sort of stretched it, and then you had the room to play out from the flank. So they had numerous ways of playing out from the back in the 4-1-2-3 and also 3-2-4-1 shapes, which I like from Maynard, sort of switching it up in game. But yeah, it's a great advert for League Two, and 2 great attacks going against each other, really.
If you could continue to like the stream and also subscribe as well, we are getting close to that 16,000 subscriber goal. As we move on to our last 3 games, MK Dons 0, Port Vale 1. The Valiants have now won 5 of their last 7, unbeaten in all of them. The 2 draws came away at Accrington Stanley, where they were 2 goals down with just 4 minutes to play. Before Antoine Hackford and Jaden Stockley did score. However, that Colchester game will be one that kind of lives in their nightmares. Again, a late goal for Colchester rescued a point. It was Hackford's goal that saw Vale go 7 games unbeaten, that handed Scotland his first defeat as MK Dons boss. A sad day for football on Wednesday, and a sad day for MK Dons, as former player George Baldock unfortunately passed away. Unfortunate, so sad, and really good to see the football community, and it really makes you think about life, doesn't it, when a 31-year-old and a really good fullback at that, and wasn't so long, played football just over a week ago as well. So my thoughts are with George's family there as well. Again, Vale creating chances and are in games, and to go away at MK Dons and Notts County and win 1-0 and see out the game in different circumstances. And that's what you bring the types of players that Port Vale brought in. Back 3 the other day of Deborah, Hennigan and Hall. And then you've got, your fullbacks in Cover and Sharrock. And I think there was a midfield, kind of a midfield 2 of Croasdale. Garrity's phenomenal. He's a workhorse. And this is without mentioning the likes of, Chislett and those types of players as well. And, you've got Payton on the bench. You've got Stockley up front who will win everything. And when you're 1-0 up away from home, you need a Jaden Stockley to open his body. And Tollodge and Curtis is kind of busy bees in and around them as the legs. And Curtis has been a phenomenal player at this level. And Tollodge has got better. He's physical. He's fitter. He's stronger. He's winning headers. He's winning flick-ons. And maybe not being the main man, being the add-on him. Stockley is so vital for what Port Vale do. If Stockley gets injured, I think Port Vale's plan is up in the water. I really do. I think that he's so vital towards getting the best out of Curtis. Because if you get Ronan Curtis out on his left foot, he will get crossed into the box like there's no tomorrow. He's one of the best crossers of a ball in this division. I genuinely believe that. So Stockley is massive for them. It's a great result for them. Look, I think Darren Moore's a great manager. I think sometimes Plan A is that one. If Plan A goes right, Darren Moore's one of the best managers in this division. However, if Plan A doesn't go right, I don't think there's a Plan B there at times. So enjoy the moment. I do think there'll be a patch where Port Vale might not get it their own way. But one thing I will say this now, if anyone finishes above Port Vale Football Club, they will win Sky Bet League 2. I think Port Vale are the best team in the division. I genuinely believe that. And I think there's some good ones. Great result for them. MK Dons, poor defeat for them, but really good win. Port Vale got Fleetwood next week. Now they've got to go and take this away form and do it at Vale Park regularly, because if you get Vale Park rocking, it'll be our place to go. Big pitch, good atmosphere, good fan base, and a good club as well.
Yeah, and I think Darren Moore deserves a lot of credit. He did not get it right in the first 4 games and first 5, because I think that led to the Doncaster one where he sort of then changed into 4-2-3-1, carried on with the 4-2-3-1 a bit, and then has resulted back into the 5-4-1 and sort of maybe implemented it and improved it, and it seems just like a brand new system for Vale. And it was so good on the transition versus MK, and the last 2 wins on the road have been 1-0 versus 2 possession-based sides in Notts County and MK, and the out-of-possession structure has been really, really good, because against Notts County, they didn't want to overly commit in a high press, but because Notts County would just play past you and get it into the final third quickly, but then against Notts County, if you play a low block, then they're just going to move the ball past you, keep exploiting the half space and the space between the lines, and then they'll hurt you that way. So against Notts County, they set up in a mid block, and then like you highlighted, Garrity's a workhorse. He had Crowsdale next to him, who's another workhorse. So they really wanted to push sort of Curtis and Tollage on the same line as Garrity and Crowsdale, and then didn't engage the wing back to wing back sort of, and didn't want to get exploited in the channel space. He wanted to really stop MK from building up through central areas where they hurt Tranmere a few weeks ago. And you got to give credit also to 17-year-old Jack Shorrock with that great cross. I mean, that's one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen. And 17-year-olds called Jack, they make special things happen. So,
oh, you've just made me feel sick. That is the second worst thing that's ever come out of your mouth. Do you know what the worst
what's the first
thing you've ever said? What do you think? What do I hate what you've said recently to me? Think of a Fleetwood footballer.
Yeah.
And the nickname you get. He messaged me, right? He went, Macca's going to be injured. Who's Macca? Do you know him? Is he
I tweeted that actually.
Macca.
It just popped into me. Also, it said the character limit of 280 on Twitter. So Mackenzie Hunt, he has a long name. Well. Yeah, okay. But still, some people have to click on show more.
If you went for Hunt, you'd be saving the character. But go on, carry on.
Yeah, well, I don't really think that way. But anyway, I think MK Dons, they have a few players still injured. Sheringham, Lawrence at the back, Lecco, Hendry, Wayne going forward, and also Joe Pritchard. And I thought the first 4 games for Lindsay, 5 points out of 12, thought he would have got more, to be honest, because obviously, they've got a possession-based style drilled into them. He's got Kelly, he's got Maguire, who he's worked with previously. But, I have no doubt that Scott Lindsay will get this right for MK Dons. And you have Morecambe next. They're going to be on momentum, and MK Dons will, again, have more of the ball. They'll have to get it past the brave Morecambe side, because they're not one of them where they'll just sit in against a possession-based side like they did against Notts County. They were brave, and Derek Adams said that. And I feel like, like you said about anyone who finishes above Vale will win League 2. And I think there's only really 2 sides I can see doing that. Probably MK Dons and Doncaster, my top 3. But yeah, I still have Vale to win the league, I think.
MK Dons are still only 6 points off the playoffs. That's a couple of good results. I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest with you here and say this, and I've thought this. I get little thoughts, not dark thoughts. Don't worry, I'm in a good place at the moment. But I get little thoughts that come into my head sometimes at work, and something that just pops into me. Scotland did a phenomenal job at Crawley. He's got the resources at MK Dons. I'm going to go against Boyne here, and I don't think many people. I don't think he might do as well as people is expecting him to at MK Dons. I just feel maybe that he was really good the way he fitted in with his attitude. And because the fans bought into it, the small fan base bought into it, it was good. I just struggle to see if MK Dons say win one, keep winning one and maybe not getting 3-4 wins together. That's what he needs. If he gets that, they'll be fine. If he doesn't get that in the next kind of 10, 12 games, I feel the MK Dons fans might start getting a bit restless because they are on managers. They're on Mike Williamson. They're on Liam Manning. They're on Russell Martin. They're on Paul Tisdale before that as well. But since then, they've had better managers, don't get me wrong. They've got a new owner in now as well. So they've got, he's always been fighting against the odds. To go from that to having resources, all of a sudden, things change a little bit. I just think maybe things won't be rosy at MK Dons. You've got a great squad. Don't get me wrong. Do you not
think, though, if MK Dons fans do get restless, would that not be a bit stupid with Scott Lindsay being a promotion-winning manager?
It'd be totally stupid. Because, and I totally agree. I think he's a great manager. And he needs some. I'm not saying he's not going to be successful long-term. I mean, look at Mike Williamson, what I said about him. I think that he needs 3 windows. He needs new players. I think that Scott Lindsay needs time on the training ground. Look, when Scott Lindsay came in, he overfought a training battle, a relegation battle. And then over the summer, he got them fit, he got them sharp, he got them into a way of thinking, a way of playing. MK Dons are slightly ahead of that. It's like at Crawley, you were getting kind of players that come out of the non-league system that are used to a certain style. At least these players have played it, so they are slightly more advanced. But maybe what I do find, it's easier to coach something that players don't maybe know than rather coach something that they do know to get them even better. Do you get what I mean? It's easier to improve players than improve better players, if you get what I mean. So there's still a long way to go. I think he'll do okay. I just don't think they might do as well as people expecting. I genuinely think there'll be 5 or 6 clubs that finish above MK Dons at this moment in time. We are currently going for an hour and a half, shall we? So we'll come to Doncaster 1, Crewe 1. Last season's playoff semi-final. Doncaster, only 2 wins in 6. They did come back-to-back. However, they've only now lost 1 in the last 5. So very positive. You can maybe mention a small negative. A good 1-1 draw against Crewe. Crewe 5-2-3, 17 points, 1.7 points per game, which is a good start, don't get me wrong. They have got a lot of players out, haven't they, at this moment in time? They are kind of maybe struggling to get the best lineup. You look at the other day, Brecken, Sanders, Tavernier, Hollock and Tracy. You look at it, even the bench was a bit thin. They had the no likes of Lancaster in that team as well. It's a good point away, a good side. You look at that. Doncaster front 4, if you like, Clifton, Gibson, Molyneux, Billy Sharp, Ironside on the bench as well. It's a really, really good team. Hurst, who did come off the bench and scored just 3 minutes later. It's a good draw for both. I think if you offered Doncaster at the start of the year, you'd be at 20 points after 11 games, winning 6, draw 2, lost 3, they're attacking it. I think same for Crewe. Considering Crewe had a poor start to the season, they've been impressive. They've won, 4 of the last 6, drawn 1, lost 1. It's a decent start. Good game between 2 decent sides.
Yeah, I think the problem is with Doncaster, and a few fans have agreed with me, that they're a bit too slow. Last season, they weren't this sort of possession-based side. They were sort of, when you had it in build-up, get it through the flanks or get it into the pivot and just get forward as quick as you can. And you would have thought that they'd do that this season with the attacking options that they have. And, like against Grimsby, they avoided the Grimsby man-to-man press in midfield, and they went onto the flank with Luke Molyneux, and then they got Gibson in behind. That's really what I think they should be doing. But McCann wants to be more possession based, and sometimes it has a bit of problems. I noticed because I watched the first half that Bailey dropped into a back three, and then it seemed like a decent game to me. I wanted to see how Crewe shapes up.
You're not MK Dons, Port Vale, who, realistically, you've got
there was more goals in Doncaster Crewe.
Well, okay. Okay.
Anyway,
agenda. A season ticket.
I'm slagging them off here, so you know.
What end are you going to go in December, Kershaw?
Pardon?
I think we play him in November, December time. What end are you going to go in?
I'll go on the halfway line. I'm joking. Yeah, I'll be next to you. Don't worry. Yeah, in build-up, I thought it was a bit of a problem with Doncaster because Bailey dropped into a back three. Sort of Sterry went up into the half space and then Broadbent peeled out wide. And then you're thinking, you've got no one to feed through in the middle there. And the fans aren't really happy with Clifton. I don't think he's been up to scratch, really. They want Sabara in that 10. They've been impressed with him. And it just feels a bit too slow from back to front. And, like I said last season, they didn't have as much of the ball. And, they signed Clifton and Gibson. They didn't have much of the ball either last season at their clubs. And Fleming hasn't had much game time in the past few seasons. Jay McGrath's getting brought up through the youth system at Doncaster. So it will take a bit of time. And it seems like against the low block sides in Crewe and Harrogate, they're suffering a bit. But fair play to Crewe. Obviously, like you said, they bounced back after the poor first 3 games. Tubbed by Chesterfield, beat by Barrow. Couldn't beat a poor Swindon side at the time. And I think they're playing some nice stuff now in build-up, sort of one-touch moves and moving it quickly. And they are going through some problems, like I said, some injury problems. Bogle and Hemmings both out there. And also Chris Long. So you've got 3 number 9s out. You're relying on Holicek and Taberner, Tracy, Lancaster to get up there and lead the line for them. And it is an energetic and young Crewe side. And I thought, when they went on that bad run, Lee Bell would turn it around because, he is a manager who doesn't take any sort of rubbish off players, and if they're not working hard enough, he'll get him working a lot harder. And one loss in the last 8, I think Crewe are getting a bit of momentum now, and it's good to see because like last season, we know how good Crewe can be. It was just disappointing last season. Now it ended, and the sort of the start of 2024 was so poor.
4 points from Gillingham at home and Doncaster away is phenomenal as well, by the way, as well. Harrogate Town 1, Newport 0. And what I like about Harrogate, whenever they're slowly going a poor run, Jack, they seem to get a result from somewhere, don't they? And at home as well. You look at the Bradford, the Doncaster, now Newport, away at Colchester. So they have started to pull off some really good results. That draw away at Accrington. So they are picking up points regularly enough. And it was Jacob Caney's mistake that, his debut for Newport, actually, he did spill Ellis Taylor, who I think both of us have been impressed with this season as well. And Toby Sims getting the goal as well. Just before half time, it's a sucker punch. Again, Newport's 5th away defeat now in 6 away from home. They've been decent at home. The wins over Accrington, Stanley, Doncaster there as well. They did lose heavily against Port Vale, but they've been quite strong at home. Simon Weaver was happy with the performance. He described, 1-0, nitty-gritty, and it was a typical League 2 game that, that established League 2 clubs now, and they'll be happy with it. Newport have wanted to go a higher level. They've been close to getting higher as well. And he was happy with how disciplined it was. They wanted to try and pass the ball. They wanted to try and be composed and stamp their authority as well. And he thinks that they're going to get more points in that manner. And when they played football, I thought they were outstanding against Doncaster. I thought they were good in moments against Bradford. Nelson Yardim kind of mentioned the defeat away at Bradford. They got back late Monday. All of a sudden, you don't train Tuesday. Wednesday's kind of like a deload day. Thursday is an intense day. Friday, you're back on the bus and you're travelling to Yorkshire as well, back there as well. You might as well stayed over. That's what you might as well have done. Again, Newport are going to be good in moments. They're a young squad. They're still developing. They're going to be good in 1 minute and maybe not so good the next minute. But overall, I think both sides, if you ask them at the start of the year, look, Harrogate Town, you are going to have a bit of a poor season. Look, Newport are on 15 points, Harrogate are on 14 points after 11 games each. If they keep averaging that and they finish 13th and 14th, that'd be outstanding seasons for them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely, especially when I'd say both of them have been quite a few people's bottom two. And I had Harrogate about 16th or something, so not as low as some people had him, but also Newport, I had him rock bottom, and just because of the inexperience of some of the players and experience of Nelson Jardim. And Harrogate are a side that typical small League Two club that just want to grind out results. They sit in a low block, they'll frustrate teams. Average 42.9% possession, the second lowest in League Two. I think the lowest is Bromley, so probably the two smaller clubs in the league are down there being really resolute defensively. And I think Simon Weaver will be happy with what he's seen because, I think listening to the outsiders, that when Harrogate maybe lose to, like you say, that confidence could drop and they could, look at themselves and think, we are a bit of a poor side, but they don't do that. They bounce back the next week and then they frustrate teams. And it's one of them sides where Doncaster, they had them on a Thursday night on Sky, and Doncaster lost 2-0 because Harrogate frustrated them, and Doncaster couldn't get the real rhythm to the game. And like you said, that there isn't a lot of players that stand out there. Maybe Anthony O'Connor, who's been at this level for a long time at Bradford and also Morecambe. Then you've got Ellis Taylor and James Daly on. Pardon?
Was he at Morecambe, Anthony O'Connor? I think he was.
Yeah, Morecambe and Bradford, really. And he was at Aberdeen too. But then you've got also Jasper Moon, who was at Burton last season. You've got Sims, who scored the goal. And you've got Ellis Taylor and Daly on either flank, like being really good bright sparks. So I have no real issue with Harrogate, to be honest, this season. I think they're just going to be a stable side that are going to probably pick a win up every three, or maybe, and for a club like Harrogate, it's good for them because it keeps you in the league at the end of the day. And for Newport, I've been 6 losses and 5 wins. It's a bit inconsistency, which sort of you'd expect. A lot of goals scored, a lot of goals conceded, and it's sort of that really rhythm to a young manager with a young squad. They're all learning together, and they'll create chances, but at times they won't be as good as a team. Like defensively resolute.
We're going to have some predictions now. Play along in the comments as well. I want to know your predictions as well before we do end tonight's show. So I'll let you go first, Jack. We can say the same ones as well. Newport County host Chesterfield. Big game for both. Friday night viewing. I might even watch it myself.
3-1 Chesterfield.
I'm going to go 2-0 Chesterfield. Accrington Stanley host Barrow in a local affair. Accrington looking for 3 wins on the bounce. Barrow looking to get back to winning ways.
1-1.
2-1 Barrow. Bradford host Gillingham. Bradford City won back-to-back games. Gillingham need a win. I'm going to go 1-1 in this one.
2-1 Bradford win.
Bromley host Tranmere Rovers in a game that both sides will think, well, we can win this. I'm going to go for Bromley 2, Tranmere 1.
Going to go for Bromley 3, Tranmere 0.
We've got a Tranmere agenda. I think that's what they'll be saying. We haven't.
Bromley are very, very good. Michael Cheek-and
Whiteley. They're a pain to play. It's like going to the dentist having your teeth ripped out playing Bromley. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
And having them put back in with Haribo teeth as well. Carlisle United against Harrogate. I think this is the time where Carlisle get a win. 2-1 to the Cumbrians.
I'm going to go for 1-1. Harrogate grind out another result against a side that's going to have more of the ball than them.
Colchester played Cheltenham. What are you saying? I'll let you go first on this one.
2-0 Colchester.
I agree with you. Colchester are my underdogs and slightly underachieving at this moment. Crewe against Salford. I'm going to go for 2-1 to the Alex.
Going to go 3-2 to the Alex.
Okay. Grimsby against Walsall. I'm going to go for 1 each.
I'm going to go 0-0.
0-0. Morecambe against MK Dons. I'm going to go for 1-1.
2-1 MK.
Okay. Notts County against Wimbledon. I'm going to go for 2-0 Notts.
I'm going to go 1-0 Wimbledon.
So we play Port Vale, Jack. What's your prediction?
2-1 Port Vale, but I predicted Sarge to beat us and we beat them, so hopefully that continues.
I think if we go and win there, that'd be the biggest win we've had for a long time. Genuinely,
If we get a point there,
if we go and get a
that'd be
point there,
great.
it's a mad result. Whereas it's mad how it changes. Where last year, if we lost there, it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it changes. It does. It really does. And that's no disrespect to Port Vale. And we go 1 each. I think we can get something. I feel the break has done us the world of good. I'm going to 1 each there. Swindon against Doncaster. I'm going to go for 3-0 Doncaster.
I'm
Who's
going
a
to
Donny fan
go
now?
2-1 Doncaster.
Right,
Not as big as you.
This is tough because I've got no notes in front of me on players. But if I had to give you some, I think Trezola might be one. I know he's not obscure. I like him a lot. I think that Emai later on in his career will step up from Salford. He's another one. I think Adju Boyd from Cheltenham. Obviously, I know he's injured. Is another one. I think that what's he called? Fullback at Bradford on loan from Lincoln. Is it Penn? Is it Ben?
Ben.
Yeah, I think he's
Of
one.
course, you're bigging yourself up. Listen to him. Premier League
I've heard good
news.
things, and I think Sims as well from Harrogate.
I think Ellis Taylor from Harrogate, Colwell from Cheltenham. Who's going to play higher up? Mark Helm from Fleetwood. Is he obscure?
I don't think so.
Right, I won't go with that then. I think Reece Bennett.
Yeah, Benno.
Who's gonna?
Like I mentioned, no Fleetwood players. I keep us under radars.
Yeah,
I do worry though. I think Brendan Wirradoo's a really obscure one. I don't think he's quite good enough yet to go and play League One. That's my genuine thought. I don't think Brendan Wirradoo's quite good enough to play League One yet. Like if League One clubs are looking after him, I just don't think he'd be good enough. So
I think you say that with a straight face, because there could be some scouts watching this.
yeah, I know they could, but I think that I don't think he's quite. I think it'd be best playing League One next year if we get promoted. Don't get me wrong, but
I've done 3 so far.
Jay
McGrath from Doncaster.
He's a beast, him. Wow.
Actually, you know what? I'm not going to go for Jay McGrath. I'm going to go for Owen Bailey from Doncaster. He's going to step up. He's going to step up. Owen Bailey, he can act as a centre back. He can be a holding midfielder. He can be a box to box. He can do anything. And last player, I can't say Matty Craig. Dan Crowley's not really an obscure one, is he?
No.
I hate these ones you get put on the spot.
Yeah, they're horrible, aren't they? Tollage. Potentially.
Yeah. Dan
He's
Butterworth from Swindon.
Yeah. Tremanga. with his big one goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching tonight's stream. An hour and a half. I hope you are enjoying these League Two lives. Let us know if you are and what you'd like to see and what guests you'd like to see come on as well. We've had representation from Morecambe. What was last week? Morecambe. Help me out.
Crewe.
Morecambe, yeah, there we are. Morecambe, Crewe. You have so many guests. And then Gills and Cheltenham as well. So if you'd like to kind of maybe represent your club as well, get on as well. Thank you to Matt as well. Go and subscribe to him. Jack, any final words, my friend? Well,
keep watching us, keep supporting us, and we're really enjoying it. And the two guests today and the two guests last week, I really enjoyed speaking to them. So I'm happy that we've introduced this new little system to League Two Live.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe on your way out. I'll be back for another members video tomorrow where you can see me attempt something slightly different as well. So if you want to become a member, click join in my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you later in the week for a League One and possibly later in the week for a League Two unpopular opinions as well. Thanks very much for watching. Up the League One. Up the League Two, sorry. There we are.
Up the League One. He's preparing for
I've
next
got
season.
one job, Natman. That's what I should be called. Can't even do that.